Look at that, blue sky. A lovely morning here at the Nürburgring for the first race of the weekend, and it's the Radical Cup Europe round number 4. Welcome along, great to have you with us. Got a full grid of cars heading to the start line for their first visit to the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. No, we're not using the Nordschleife, but that does not mean it's any less enjoyable, especially in our Radical Cup European Championship. The sticky end of the championship with Marcus Littlewood leading by over 50 points and with the perfect position here. Beautiful. I can't believe how much I appreciate 14 degrees this morning. 67 degrees humidity is probably telling a lie, because by the time we get to the middle of the day, it's going to be down to about 30. The cars will love this condition, the drivers will love this condition, and for the moment, we love this condition as well. There is the grid. It's about to begin to form, with some cars with 2 drivers, others with just a single driver, but plenty of people for our pitch reporter and presenter Carla Velti to talk to down on the grid. We've got 4 cars, in fact, that are being shared by 2 drivers. The rest of the field are single driver entries, but don't forget, we do have pit stops in the middle of the race where they have to come in for a set amount of time and then head back out onto circuit. That's to allow those with 2 drivers to change drivers in a manner which is still fair in comparison to the single driver entries. As I said, Marcus Littlewood, the man of the moment, 2 pole positions from qualifying yesterday, championship leader, and his championship rivals a decent way back. These are the SR3 vehicles, and we look forward to seeing how the race pans out. There is Marcus Littlewood on the pole position, and I imagine Carla Velti is down there to perhaps chat to him.
Of course I am. It's my duty to be down here on the grid for you guys. Good morning from the Nürburgring grid of the Radical Race 1. And in fact, Marcus Littlewood just got into his position right as we start down here on the grid. And of course I need to speak to the man on the pole position, although I feel like I'm speaking just to you constantly because you're flying away out here. How are you feeling this morning?
Yeah, feeling really good. Obviously the first on the track today, so it's quite a cold track and a bit green, but we'll see how it goes. Just got to try and get through turn 1 and see how the race pans out.
I spoke a little bit to the guys from Radical yesterday, and they are very, very proud that you are such a constant part of the Radical story. Can you give me a little bit of insight how it is to grow in the world of motorsport with this championship?
Yeah, it's a great championship. Obviously, I came from Radical UK. I drove the SR1 and then progressed into the SR3 in the UK, and just that introduction to cars with plenty of downforce is a great thing to learn, and it helps me as it helps me a lot as a driver. So yeah.
Are there any big goals right after this season, or are you planning to continue with the Radical program?
I want to stay. I want to do a bit in Radical, but I also want to pursue a career in LMP3. My dream is to do Le Mans. I tested an LMP3 not that long ago, but that's the route I want to go. Yeah.
Fantastic. We love to hear that. I'll let you do your thing. I'll speak to you later, I guess, and good luck out there. Now, this is exactly what's cool about this Radical Cup, is that this is a perfect entry into motorsport. Not only is it a very affordable option to get into racing, but it's also something that gives you a taste of a world like what Marcus just said, with LMP, things that you could do in the future. Radical is really, really a wonderful stepping stone for the motorsport career of any young driver. Now let me go to P2 right now, because we have the Netherlands team with Mr. Van Dijk sitting here in P2. Good morning, how are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. First time on this track, first time in the new XXR. So I find myself in a pretty good spot at P2. Sadly, just not enough for P1, but I'm looking forward to the race and battling for the win.
So you have someone next to you on P1 who is really strong and he knows exactly what he is doing. What is your plan now to make sure that you will be the first when you get into that first turn?
I'm just gonna go to put my foot on it, get a good start, and I'll see what happens after, if I can get in front before the first corner, or just stick behind and make my move later.
Fantastic. A man with a plan. Good luck with that. I want to move a little bit further back into the grid because there is one topic that is quite important to know about. There are two different cars actually here on the grid. We have one car which is the SR3. That's the first version that was introduced in 2002. And we have the SR10 which was introduced in 2020. Now, visibly, there's not a very big difference between the two, but there is a difference in weight, that's the main thing, and a little bit of power. And we have one of those cars on here on the grid, which is the number 9. They are a little bit further back, so let's see if I can make my way all the way back there while I... Yes, there we go. I did find the car, so let's go right back there. We can see some of the drivers having the umbrellas up already to get shielded from the sun, because even though what Ben just said earlier on, it is fresh. The air is fresh this morning, but you can already feel the heat coming in. I don't think it will be excruciating today, but we will definitely get more temperatures. Now, good morning. We did have a little conversation yesterday just after the qualifying. How is the mood today ahead of the first race?
I'll take it easy and work my way up in the field.
That is a very good plan. You are on the second to last row, so only way forward from here. Is there anything that you are looking out for particularly with this SR10 compared to the other ones in a start moment?
The fast corners and the straights, of course.
All right, we just got the notes that we have to clear the grid, so pay attention to how these cars are going into the very first turn and how these cars are going to try to get the temperature into the tires. Don't forget, it's an open roof car. There are several aspects that come to driving a Radical, to making sure you're quick, to making sure it all works out well. And with that, I'm gonna give back to the comms guys, head into the pit lane and make sure to be your eyes and ears there for the race.
Great job from Carlo Velti there on the grid, and we are not far away from getting the cars rolling on their one formation lap. Here is how they will line up then. Marcus Littlewood alongside Mitchell van Dijk in the 67 with a Dutch driver and a British driver. Paul Denning and Lowen Stevens on row 2, ARSR and RJ Motorsport represented. Qualifying times tight in this part of the field. Erlen van Jonsen in the 911 and Morten Stromsted in the car that is closest to Marcus Littlewood in the championship in 6th position. And that is a car that has a second driver as well. Yahid Fazil Karim and Eddie Van Dam in the 33, a new name to the championship in 8th position. Had breakfast with him this morning. And just a massive fanatic of racing. Pascal Bachmann does not have his wife alongside him this weekend. Brian Huang in 6th position, doing a dual American and European program. So plenty of time in the car for the Taiwanese driver. John McLeod and Peter Gustafsson, we just heard from him from Vortex in his SR10. His teammate was strong in qualifying, so watch out for that car with Philip Svensson aboard. And then Ross Broad, Jess Franson, 13th and 14th. And that, I think, is it for our 14 entries. As I say, one formation lap. And Snowy, Peter Snowden alongside me, should introduce you before I just barge in. It's just 14 degrees air temperature out there. We were talking about 40 degrees track temperature yesterday when they were qualifying. That feels like a world away. How's that going to feel inside the car?
A lot cooler for many levels. I'm stating the obvious, of course, but a lot cooler for the cars, the way they work, the engines, how they breathe. We always talk about fuel consumption in cars, but we forget how much air a car consumes as well. Its ratio far greater amount amount of air and then fuel. So that'll make it a whole thing work a lot better. So it'll be crisper and cleaner and run cleaner. Hot temperatures, engines just don't like it as much. And race engines, of course, are very, very different to road car engines. They're set to work in a very short, narrow window of competitiveness, if you like. Better for the drivers as well. Nice early start today, and also get out there 9 o'clock. No sun issues rising or dropping or that kind of thing in your eyes, as we see in some of the endurance races. We'll see a little bit later on. Is that one car just stationary on the grid there? Did I see one not move away very quickly? Yes, it is. That's the 33, which is the Radical Nederland. That's Alan Berg, who was on row 4.
Eddie Van Dam, well, that isn't Eddie Van Dam, actually, from looking at his race suit.
So I think it's Alan Berg that's in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it saying on your timing screen? No, it's not saying anything. Wonderful.
Not yet. It'll come round. It'll reset when they've done the come round once. But just looking at the grid as issued, that does list as Alan Berg.
Yeah.
In that's Alan, not Alain, not to be confused with Alain Berg, who was a former Formula 1 race driver and runs a race school. Two different Alan Bergs.
Okay.
Yeah. Just so we don't go down that rabbit hole.
Unfortunately, though, he has dropped to the tail end of the field, so he won't be able to take up his grid position, particularly as he was push-started there. So I don't know if there's
that might be the discerning factor. I can't remember the exact rules on that in this particular series, Ben. But normally, if you've managed to restart and you can then retake your position before they get round to the position. But if it's been push-started, you have had outside assistance there. So you're right. I think that will probably stay at the back of the field.
However, we are part of the Creventic Championship here, and they are always known for maximising driver track time, even if perhaps you've had a misdemeanor and been in the gravel. This is a championship where you can be picked up and put back onto the circuit and carry on. So
a perfect blend of flexibility and understanding.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a black flag. That's your day done. I think he will be.
Oh, heavens no. Now, has Alan Berg made any progress through, or has he decided to sit at the back? So they're starting to form up and take their 2x2 positions. Our pole sitter is Marcus Littlewood, who's in the RSR entry. He and Mitchell van Dijk on the front row, the only two entries or two competitors to go below 2 minutes in qualifying. 58.9 for Marcus Littlewood and a 59.6 for Mitchell van Dijk.
Cars rounding the final turn then, and we are about to get underway for our first race here at the Nürburgring this weekend, and the first race of round 4 of the Radical Cup Europe. And Marcus Littlewood, our championship leader, from the pole position gets underway. We get the race started very early on down this main straight, so lots of speed being built, and it does look as though Mitchell van Dijk has a slightly better start, but he's going to be on the outside line. Who's diving up the inside? Oh, it's got 4 cars,
including the leader.
The championship leader's well into the gravel. The whole of the front row is being wiped off. We've got 5 cars out, and we are surely not going to be able to extract that. Marcus Littlewood furious, no doubt, and you could see it happening, and it happens so often here at the Nürburgring, Snowy.
Yeah, now I'm not sure which car it was that came down the inside there. It's either 77 or 911. RJ Motorsport, Jahid Fazal Karim or Erlen Jan Olsen came down the inside. Just by the way, Alan Berg did retake his position on the grid, and with that commotion in front of him, 4 or 5 cars being taken out at the first corner, that's promoted him to 4th now. So I bet he's pleased he took that position.
On board with Mitchell van Dijk. I think he's probably got damage and won't be able to continue.
Yeah, innocent victim in that.
So on the left-hand side, we have Marcus Littlewood?
I think it's Jihad Fazal Karim that came down the inside, saw the opportunity, but it was a narrowing gap and never made it, and that took out, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, has it not? Including our race leader, our pole sitter. Marcus Littlewood's in the gravel with broken right rear suspension, so that's going to be a big repair before the next race.
Hideously disappointed drivers there. 5 cars out, and would you believe that the car that started 11th position is now leading the race? Car 14, which is John McLeod. Broken rear right, as you said, from Marcus Littlewood. I imagine Mitchell van Dijk is of a similar disposition, and you've got 3 other cars wrapped up in each other. I noticed one of them was Jahid Fazid Karim, and that car is black. Suspension looks okay there, obviously damaged bodywork, but you never quite know whether there's something underneath that's damaged as well.
Yeah, that's the front row sitting car there, isn't it? Now,
from 4 drivers talking to each other, the 5th possibly walked the other direction in embarrassment.
So, interesting, we were talking about the championship before this. This shakes it up completely because Marcus Littlewood has been walking away with all this, and as Carla said when she interviewed him, that she seems like she's talking to him all the time because he's always out at the front. Well, they were innocent of victims. The front row, certainly Marcus Littlewood and Mitchell van Dijk, totally innocent in that, had nowhere to go and then got ploughed into. That's also taken out Paul Denning and Lowen Stevens. And
gosh, that's the first 2 rows of the
correct.
field. Completely wiped out. So I think your
safety car, Ben,
is correct that if the first 4 rows have all gone and then 1 other car is gone, and that other car is the 77 of Jahid Fazid Karim, possibly that was the black car going down the inside and causing the incident. I'm sure we've got plenty of time to get a replay up on the screens anyway, and we will be able to dissect the move. I did think that there was going to be a move from row 2. It did feel as though Marcus Littlewood was being very careful going into that first turn.
I think it was. It's absolutely not a name game. It's just trying to analyse exactly what happened. But I do think that it potentially that Jahid Fazal Karim in the RJ Motorsport car had a great run down the inside, saw the opportunity. But that first corner, we see it so many times here at the Nürburgring, whatever series, it's a pinch point, and it just suddenly tightens up to it. It's diminishing returns, and that's what caught everybody out there. That does, however, put John McLeod at the front of the race.
Unbelievable.
Which I'd said to you, Rickard, he had a really, really good run there. John McLeod came from 11th on the grid, and he's now race leading. Erland Jan Olsen it is in the Radical Norway entry in 2nd place. Pascal Bachmann in 3rd, and Alan Berg, as I said, in 4th place from Radical Nederland. Alan was the one that had that issue at the start and retook his grid position.
Red flag. So they decided it's going to take too long to extract all those cars from the front of the grid. So we're going to get the cars lined up either on the grid or in pit lane. Get rid of the 5 cars that have stopped, and then we'll restart the race. Now,
my first thoughts there, is it going to be a shortened restart, 40-minute race? Because of the schedule, we've got a tight schedule today.
Exactly. How does that affect everything else? There is the 67 being removed, and let's have a look at the replay then. Snowy, your expert opinion on this one.
I think it's, if we look onto the right-hand side of the grid, I still think it's car 77 that gets a run down the inside. The front ones are 3 and 67, so that's Marcus Littlewood and Mitchell van Dijk are fine, and it's yeah, it is as I sadly suspected. It's Jahid Fazal Karim that comes down the inside, thinks it's all okay. Unfortunately for him, Erland van Alten in front just has a little lock-up, and that unsights him in the 25 car, yes, in the 25 entry, and then gets clattered into by Karim. And unfortunately, that's collateral damage. That all pushes everybody across the left-hand side of the track, and Marcus Littlewood, Mitchell van Dijk, Paul Denning and Lowen Stevens literally have nowhere to go.
First 2 rows eliminated. Here on board with Rossboard, and everyone's scattering out in front. And look at that, from the very back of the grid, Ross, all right, he's not going to get up to 4th, but he's in
happy days. Yeah. The parting of the ways. Who's like that? I'll take some of that, thank you very much.
What I don't understand there is that the 77 clearly didn't have very much track, because he was, where the track kinks a little bit, he was on the grass on the inside, right? and presumably by that point, Snowy, on the brakes or starting to think about being on the brakes. So was that just literally a case of it's so dirty down there, you don't have the opportunity to slow down?
There's a little bit of that. I think also the Erland van Alten had a little bit of a lockup, which probably took that last little bit of space that Jahid Fazal Karim had. We're not sitting in the cars. It's so easy to judge from different camera angles and looking out of the commentary box, but we never quite know. You need to see it inside at all different angles and, of course, look at data. But I think he's a racing driver. He took the opportunity. It was there, and then ultimately the gap was taken very slightly by Erland van Alten in the Radical Norway 911 entry, locking up, and then it's all suddenly, it then happens, doesn't it? Accumulative.
I think whilst we wait and get our cars on the grid, they're going to form up on the grid rather than pit lane. Let's head down to Carla, who will have various bits of information down there. Probably not yet grumpy drivers, though.
No grumpy drivers yet. Actually, one of the drivers that is kind of lucky, Philip, you're in the Vortex car and your car is safe for now. That was quite a wild start, wasn't it? We just watched the replay together.
Yeah, it looked like a typical Nürburgring T1 start. No, but quite unfortunate for the guys being out of the race. I hope they get the cars together for tomorrow. But yeah, it looks like Peter, he got a good start and just kept it a bit easy. And yeah, we're through. I think we're restarting from the back. But yeah, it's a better place than in the gravel traps.
So you are one of, I think it's 4 cars that have 2 drivers on it. How much can you actually adjust in a Radical car to your own needs? Or is it a given, you just have to get in that seat, it needs to be comfortable? How much can you actually do?
Well, I mean, the cars are pretty good to drive in terms of 2-driver system. They're quite forgiving and easy to get going with. So in terms of setup work to the car, I think it's pretty easy to find some sort of compromise between the drivers. But yeah, obviously Peter is our primary driver in our Vortex car, so we make sure that he's comfortable in the car, and I'll try to work with it as it is. So yeah.
How hard is it with your car? Because you have the SR10, if I'm not mistaken. You have a different weight, a little bit of a different power. There is a difference to the SR3. How difficult is it in conditions like now to get the temperature into the tire that you need to get the car where you want it to be?
Well, in terms of tire temperature, etc., we have a slight advantage in the start because the car is a bit heavier, 100 kilo plus heavier, so it's a bit easier to get the tires up to temp. This track, it's a bit more corners and not so much, in favor of the power of the car, so it's a bit tricky. The other tracks we've been able to pull away in the start. We've been facing some issues with the gearbox this weekend, so not quite on the pace where we want to be, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's fixed for now, and when I take over the car, see if we can put on some pretty good lap times. All
right, that sounds very positive. Thank you for your time. Guys, I'm going to try to find out more from the drivers once they are back from that accident. For now, I will give to you guys up in the comms box because I need to do my research down here in the pit lane.
Yeah, Jahid Fazil Karim is the one that needs to apologise for the rest of the field. His car looks pretty sorry. It's on the back of the flatbed, but it does look as though it might have 3 corners damaged, doesn't it?
I was just going to say that it does look like it's got three corners damaged.
And good work from the truck driver there to get through that little hole. Here is a replay once again. So we're looking 4 rows back at the black machine that's the far left of screen. We go 5 wide, actually, don't we, at one point? And he's then squeezed a little bit onto the grass there. Then I suppose you're on the brakes here, but it almost looks like he releases the brakes again to try and get himself down the inside. An optimistic move from the 4th row to try and take the lead into turn 1.
Yes, but it's the race. It's the best opportunity to get an advantage at the start of the race, and I think he came down there. He was slightly squeezed. We didn't quite get onto the grass. A little bit of the apron on the pit exit there, but it's then the Radical Norway entry of Erland van Alten right in front, who has a little. He tries to close the gap, which, to be fair, I would say Jahid Fazal Karim was in that gap already. He was certainly well alongside the car in front, and the Erland van Alten had a little lockup of the rear, interestingly, going in there, and the car just jinked to the right, which took the final bit of space that was really Karim's gap at that point. So it's one of those things. Yes, it's optimistic, it's brave, but fortune favours the brave. He had a look down the inside. He hadn't done anything wrong by that point. He'd had a mega start. If you watch it, he moved to the inside, to the middle of the track, and gained place, as you said. We got to 5 wide, then moved to the inside again. So he'd actually got the momentum. So he'd had a great start, and he was capitalising on that start. And then the track, basically, the track was taken away from him, so he had nowhere to go. That, unfortunately, then has a domino effect, and by the time he's cluttered into one car, it goes across and takes out the 2 front rows.
It was actually a good start from Alan Berg, wasn't it, as well, on the 33 car. Look how late that they... I mean, to be fair, I don't know whether the car we just saw on the right-hand side there, which was car 25, so that was Paul Denning. That car didn't look like it was going to make the corner either.
No.
So he's almost tricked Jahid into a different braking point.
Yeah, I don't think he's as guilty as perhaps he might have initially thought, to be honest. Certainly at the start of a race, it's the greatest opportunity to get ahead, isn't it?
And the other thing is, of course, it all then depends on how cautious the cars at the front are being. If they're being very cautious and the guys behind are being very attacking, then you can really have that proper concertina, as you mentioned.
And it's racing. You know, it's the first corner. That's your best opportunity to capitalise and take an opportunity down the inside, as he did.
Still 3 minutes before we go back to safety car, and then we will probably get the race restarted. But 5 cars lost is a real shame. And I mean, the closing speed is enormous from that particular camera angle there. And we were lucky not to lose more cars, but...
Totally agree, Ben. So we've just been shown a replay from a totally different angle. From the other side, the car's coming towards turn 1. And it's very clear that there's rows, probably, 9 and 11. That's why they got so far out. So rows 5 and 6, positions 9, 10, 11, 12. They saw that all unfolding on the right-hand side and were able to move to the left. There's a big runoff area there, and actually keep out of it and go, thank you very much, happy days, and around the outside of everybody, and like, well, we'll go from row 5 to row 2, effectively.
If this was a pack of cards, we haven't just lightly shuffled them. We've chucked them in the air and then asked our dog to pick them up.
What we used to call 52-card pickup.
There you go. We've got John McLeod, who was on the original grid in 11th position. Will start the race in the lead. The 9-11 of Erlen Wanolsen was quite far up, wasn't he, on the first start? He was in 5th position, so he starts 2nd. Pascal Bachmann will start 3rd. Alan Berg will start 4th. Jesse Fransen will start 5th. Rosborg 6th, Morten Stromsted, who is well up there and is part of our championship fight, will start all the way down in 7th position from 6th on the grid, so he didn't gain anything. And then it'll be Brian Hang and Peter Gustafsson right at the tail of the field. And
that restart is going to be in 1 minute time at 9:14, and it's going to be a 40-minute race for the rest of the restart. So what was it, 50 minutes? They've lost 10 minutes effectively.
Yeah, but we went to red flag after 5 minutes of running, I think. So we have, whilst it's taken 10 odd minutes to fix this, we are only losing 5 minutes of racing time. So that does mean, just thinking again about the rest of the day, it does mean that we will possibly close out this race a little later than we were expecting, which means our Prototype Cup will be affected. And then we'll see what race control do with the rest. The safety car rolls off the finish line. That's a Toyota GR, by the way, Yaris. We were talking about one of those last night, and there was some confusion between myself and Carla Velti as to what was a GR Yaris. Doesn't come with lights, yours, Carla, but that is... They're a mega car, if you want a four-wheel drive. There's one next to our hotel, which has got a very funky livery on it.
So what a difference in a restart. Alan Berg, on the start of the original race, had a problem where he stalled on the grid, or stopped on the grid, let's say. He was stationary, had to get re-going. We debated whether he could get up to position again. Alan Berg started originally on row 4 in position 8, in the Radical Nederland number 33 entry. He dropped right back to the order. We debated whether he could make his way through or not, because he had an outside assistant to push out. He did. And then there was all that melee at the front of him. In front of him, he got round that completely, despite being back in the grid position. Then the race gets stopped. We get a restart, and Alan Berg starts in P4.
Nice.
Just 4 positions up from his 8, and to be like, thank you very much.
Yeah. As I say, I think some particularly John McLeod has really benefited a huge amount from that. We should have watched what he did. I suppose being so far back from the accident, he was able to probably take the racing line. Those in the middle of the pack would have been scrambling to stay away from the accident, but he was so far back, the accident cleared off by the time he's got there, and he was able to move himself straight into the lead. There is the 38 machine of Step Motorsport. That is second in the championship, and will be looking to try and maximise the amount of points to be taken here to get himself a little bit closer. Don't forget that this is the penultimate round of the championship. Next round in Barcelona is the final races, plus the World Finals, where we will have a lot more cars. Let's quickly, before we get back to racing, we haven't got long, get down to Carla with Marcus Littlewood.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, guys. We just had some chat here with the drivers that are coming back. The first one that I wanted to speak to, Marcus Littlewood. First of all, most important, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm physically okay. The car's not so much. Yeah, just very disappointed in the standard of driving on that first corner, to be honest. Like, it's pinballed 5 drivers out the race, which is fairly disappointing. I know it was an accident, but yeah, fairly large consequences for that one.
I want to hear more from you. We have the restart right now, so stay with me. I will give back to the restart and we'll be right back here.
Cars rolling through the fast chicane at the end of the lap and heading towards the safety car line, which will release the cars back to racing. And John McLeod for RSR is the car that leads the way as they come round the final corner. Erlen Van Olsen in second position, Bachmann in third, Berg fourth, Franson fifth, Board sixth, Stromstedt seventh, Huang Gustafsson is your 9 cars, and Olsen with his flashing lights looking down the inside into this first corner, but there is no space, well, he's not quite close enough, and everyone being a little bit more circumspect. But from what we saw in qualifying, we expect quite a lot to change here, and even at the back of the field already one change. I think that's Gustafsson getting himself up into 8th position ahead of Brian Huang.
Well, no such repeat at the start of the restart, shall we say, but I was talking about Alan Berg earlier, going from row 4. Of course, you pointed out quite rightly, Ben, that John McLeod, who's now leading this race, did start the original race on an 11th position on row 6.
Olsen down the inside, but it becomes the outside line for the next turn, and is not going to find a way through there. McLeod trying to push him across onto the curb, and he scrabbled his way through. Nice move, brave move from Olsen into the lead of the race, going into the Dunlop curve, and he had to go all the way around the outside to do that and then use the exit curve. But John McLeod certainly does not have the pace to lead this race, and Olsen scampers off into the distance. Here's the replay.
Well, I thought that he couldn't get away with it there and get around the outside. I thought John McLeod would run him wide. He did a little bit and put him on the exit curbing, but he got away with it. And Erlen Van Olsen just kept his foot in and went all the way around the outside. And it almost looks like that car is engineeringly, technically superior at the moment, because it's already started to pull away. I think Alan Berg has just dropped a place. I think, or is it swapped around? He had a swap with 12. Was that in front of him?
No, so it's Bachmann in the 17, and then the 33 is Berg.
It's Berg, yeah.
And they have swapped around because they got stuck trying to overtake John McLeod, and they almost think about going side by side through this fast left-right switch. Not sensible, and actually Berg is still behind Bachmann. Berg looks to the inside around the final turn, and Bachmann's given him some space there.
Didn't he just?
Very gentlemanly.
Left the door open completely for him. Motor said, after you, Claude.
Well, all of that battling has given John McLeod a little bit of time to settle in, because it did look as though he wasn't very much in pace on that first lap. We're now right on board with Alan Berg into this first turn. Turns in nice and late. They do give the apex curve a lot of respect, but ultimately it's not one you need to necessarily kiss there. A little bit wide through turn number 2, but that means that you run a little bit wide on the exit. Now through 3, trying to hook up the apex on the left-hand side. You then flick right to the right-hand side, back to the older Grand Prix track. And now you start to plunge downhill off the national circuit onto the international part of the GP track. Sweep left, and then through the long right-hander where John McLeod got mugged last time round. And actually, Bachmann not close enough to make an attack on McLeod. Olsen leads by 2.7 seconds.
Yes, and it's quickest car on the track is Olsen with a 2:04 compared to our second place, John McLeod, 2:07. The next quickest, though, is Alan Berg in 4th position with a 2:06 and on a good run at the moment. So it's John McLeod's car just didn't seem to dial itself in that first lap or two. It seems to have picked up again now, because he was a serious contender at Paul Ricard a few weeks ago, right up at the front, giving Marcus Littlewood a really hard time, which I expected to see today. Obviously, Littlewood's out of this race, but I didn't think he would be swamped quite so quickly by Olsen, but he has been. Olsen's disappeared up the road now, some 2.7 seconds ahead already, and set a fastest lap of 2:04.032.
One thing to consider, we've got a pit window of 10 minutes, and that will open in 3.5 minutes time for 10 minutes. So you will then be able to come in and change your driver. But crucially, everybody sort of has different pit lane times, so we'll go through them when we get into that window, but that will shuffle the pack once again, because we have some drivers that will only need to be stationary for 45 seconds, others for 85 seconds, and of course with only a short amount of racing before the window, we won't get very much time to create those gaps. That's why Erlen Van Olsen is scampering off to the tune of 3 to 4 seconds a lap up the road. It's the second fastest car on the track, by the way, is it Brian Huang? Yes, it is Brian Huang, who's down in 5th position. But watch out for the number 6, because it'll be closing on in Alan Berg. The gap was 1.3 as they came across the line, but with a 3-second gap between their times on track, there is the number 6, and we expect to see the Taiwanese driver climb on side those two orange cars.
Well, he's right with them now, isn't he? Look.
Brian Huang then closing in, getting closer to the rear wing of Alan Berg. A little bit wide, though, through the Dunlop curve.
He's pushing on, isn't he? He's absolutely pushing on, maximising every little bit of track he can use to close that gap down to Alan Berg in 4th position.
Disappointment down in pit lane with our drivers who are now out of the race, including our championship leader. An opportunity, I was going to say, an opportunity for particularly the 38, who is second in the championship, to close down, but Stromstedt is nearly it is the last car on track, so I wonder whether they got caught up. 9 seconds off the back of the train for the 38. I know that the second driver in that car is the stronger of the two, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah, 2-minute 14 laps, so there's something awry with that car, isn't there?
I think so, yeah. Sebastian Strom's not going to be looking forward to getting aboard that car. Battle 4, 4th position here. Alan Berg has suddenly started driving in his mirrors, Snowy. You know very well not to focus on your mirrors when you're in a race car. And look at him, he's even looking across. Where are you going to attack me, Brian Huang? Where should I defend? Should I defend? Brian slightly later on the brakes to close up, tighter through the apex, able to hold a tighter line through that turn 1, which gives you a switchback opportunity through 2.
Well, they always say it's better to be the hunter than be hunted, and the psychology behind that is, if you're being hunted, you're being distracted because you're busy watching the car behind where he is. You have to be aware, of course, the physicality of the car. If they make a lunge and go for a gap, you can't just shut the door, because cars can't just disappear. But that's part of it, but you've got to focus on your driving as well. And the problem is you take away from focusing on your driving and your lines and what you're used to in your rhythm, and you're looking about the car behind, and that just gives them the opportunity. If you're the hunter, that's exactly what you try and do. You try and get up to the car in front, and they say, metaphorically, get inside the head and scratch around a bit, and basically they often say push them off, push them into a mistake. It's not physically, it's psychologically. Fill the mirrors and distract them and try and put them off their driving, which gives you the opportunity. That then door opens and you're through. I make it all sound very easy. It isn't at 120, 130 miles an hour on track at Nürburgring. It's very different. It's lovely in the commentary box, though, watching and talking about it.
And I think the reason why we're seeing Olsen make such headway at the head of the field here is because he should be stationary for 75 seconds in pit lane, as we've already got
Peter Gustafsson in the SR10 has just come into the pits.
and he's come in just before the window, so that's a problem for the number 9 machine. Yeah, just going back to it, 911, who leads our race, 75 seconds stationary in the pits. The 14 car behind, only 50 seconds. So 25 seconds, the difference between the pit stops of our first and second position cars. With only a 7-7 gap right now, that is going to hand the lead back to John McLeod for the second part of this race. So that is something that all the drivers know, but we will only get to update you on the next lap. The window, by the way, is now open, so anyone who wants to come into the pits can. I expect to see the 38 machine come in and change drivers if Morten Stromsted is really struggling with that car. That will certainly be one for Carla to find out once Stromsted gets out of the 38 machine, because it's a big gap lost. Disappointment, though, for the number 9.
As Peter Gustafsson has jumped out of that, Svensson driving it in the other race, but so that's the our single SR10 entry, sadly retired from this race. I'm sure Carla will go and find out what has happened there.
Yeah, Carlo, are you with that car?
I am indeed. I'm standing next to the 2 drivers, one still with the helmet on. Philip, I just spoke to you and we just said, let's hope these gearbox problems don't show up again. That was not the plan.
No, not really. I know we'll have some issues with the downshifts throughout the beginning of the weekend, and well, it seemed fine down to the last lap he did, Peter. So, but yeah, we'll scratch our heads and see what we can do, and hopefully we'll be back on the grid tomorrow.
All right, there you have it. Sorry about that, you guys. Good luck for tomorrow.
Whilst Carla was just talking there, the battle between Alan Berg and Brian Hunk has accelerated even more. Brian Hunk having a little look down the inside at the Dunlop curve, trying to go through the inside, trying to make that move stick. Couldn't quite get, sort of got alongside, about half the car alongside, but not enough to pull the move off. He's backed out of it again, just sitting back. And again, might be just doing a little bit of psychology of looking where the place can be. You will quite often, as a driver, you will place your car and somewhere to off-put the person in front, but that's not where you're going to do the overtake. You keep showing your face there. Now both of them dive into the pits at the same time, so this is our 4th and 5th placements, Alan Berg and Brian Haug, straight into the pits together.
Yeah, but I would have done something different, wouldn't you? Particularly if you're the second car, Brian Haug, give yourself a lap of clear air so you can try and do the undercut. The number 8 machine has a 45-second stationary pit stop, and the 33 is also on 45, so they're supposedly going to leave the pits together, and therefore they'd still be held up, although Alan Berg will be handing over to Carlo Van Dam, and there'll be a different driver in the 33 machine. It would have just been an opportunity for Brian Huang. And I always think about that. I've watched so much racing from the outside. If I'm in that car and I'm following a car, I'm never going to follow another car into the pits unless I have to.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on your strategy. The engineers know what they're doing, and if they tell you, I don't know whether they've got radio comms in these cars. I suspect not. But the engineers know, and you've got to listen to your strategists. Now, the number 6 entry, Brian Hunk, is not doing a driver change, whereas Alan Berg looks like he is doing a driver change.
Yes, that's correct. So yeah. Carlo Van Dam getting into Alan Berg's car, but because they started from their grid position and not the tail of the field, having stalled on the original race start, they have been given a drive-through penalty, that 33 car, and so that will undo all the good work of Alan Berg in that first stint. As Stromsted now comes in, I suspected that they would take advantage of the early pit stop. Do we have pit stop time on your screen? Because I don't have it on mine, and that's going to be very crucial for if they are obeying their pit stop window time or not. There is the 33 of Carlo Van Dam now, a late entry into the race. He gets out onto circuit. He is ahead of Brian Huang, and actually I think he's miles ahead of Brian Huang. So either Huang has done a slow stop, or there has been, or Carlo Van Dam is a slow stop, or something else. Either way, we know that the 33 is going to have a problem, and there's a problem here. Yes, so here we go, Snowy. As we thought, Step Motorsport with an issue on their car at a time where they really didn't need to have an issue, because this was the day to take all those points away in the championship from Marcus Littlewood.
Yeah, and it's just not performing, is it, that car at the moment? It's defending strongly, though. Marcus Stromstad is not, yes?
No, this is Brian Huang, who's come out the pits. He is a lap behind, should really be getting out of the way of our leader, Olsen, but he's not, and he's making Olsen's work hard. But of course, they could, in theory, be racing each other, because Olsen's got such a long pit stop that by the time that pit stop's been done, they might find themselves back on track. Now, look around the marshal posts. Can we see blue flags flying? That would be the instruction for the 6 to get out of the way. I don't see any, and therefore he's in every right to hold his position there.
Yes, and Olsen also flashing the lights, try and distract Brian Hang there, but I would say that Hang's doing exactly the right thing there, defending position. Why give up track position? You know it's to your advantage. You never give it up unless it's super, super quick. Sometimes there's no point, obviously, if the car's significantly quicker, but I wouldn't say Olsen is significantly quicker at the moment than Hang. A little bit, seems to be on the straight line. It does look like Hang's car hasn't quite got the straight line speed that Olsen's has.
So 1:55 is the pit stop for the 911. He's
Olsen into the pits.
Definitely feeling like he's being held up. He's got to be in the pits from pit in to pit out, 1:55. How long's the lap? 2 minutes. And therefore, that was worthy of that slight delay from the 6, because they're going to come out in 1 lap's time, very close on circuit. But I don't think either will lead. I'm pretty sure John McLeod is going to inherit the lead, and I think we do have another retirement. No, we don't. Sebastian Schue has gone out in the 38, but clearly problems for that car, Carla. What can Martin Stromstad tell you?
Martin, nice to have you back on camera, but unfortunately I saw a bit of problems going on with your car. Tell us, what's going on?
Well, I avoided the big crash, had a plan of staying on the outside, but apparently I picked up some debris, so the exhaust was damaged, so we were like 14 seconds down. But we'll get good points, and the car is brought back, but it's not fast driving.
You're very chappy for the situation that you're in. Is that just because you love what you do, or you cannot change anything about the situation anyways?
Well, we're happy, you know, we have 4 pro cars going out, getting no points, and, you know, we survived the crash, so I think sometimes you have to take what you can get.
That is, in fact, very true. Other than that, how is the track feeling itself? It's probably a little bit hard to say if you have a car that is struggling left and right, but how is it feeling this morning in the early hours to go out on the track?
Well, with a bad exhaust and low speed, it feels super good. But no, the track is really good. So if I had the engine, we could have, you know, won this podium for sure today. But it is what it is. We have to fight tomorrow and get good points today.
Exactly. Second chance tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where on earth is the exhaust to be damaged by debris? Surely it's covered by the engine cover, is it not?
Well, no, it's a transverse motorcycle engine, this, and it's quite low down the back. So that's the danger. I was going to say that you avoid an accident, a melee in front of you. Think you've got away with it, but you'd run over something and pick it up, and it's only got to dent the exhaust, which restricts the emissions and the gas flow. And they're so critical, these engines. It's not going to work very well, is it?
So they have decided that the RJ Motorsport machine number 77
Jahid Fazal Karim
was responsible for the collision at turn number 1, so he will have a drop of 5 grid positions for tomorrow's race, which will probably put him to the very back of the field. Not disastrous, because with 14 cars you can still play, particularly with the way that the penalties for pit stops are. We are now just getting John McLeod into the pits. He's got a short pit stop in comparison to this 911 machine, and so I'm thinking that it will be John McLeod who will come out. 911's in second position, or maybe third position, and Brian Huang, we could see at the back a shot there, just behind. So the holding up would have helped, but ultimately Brian has still got some opportunity.
There's a life for Brian there.
Life for Brian. To catch up to the tail of Olsen. But let's watch this pit stop, because John McLeod from the back of the field, inheriting the lead after everyone else shunted in front of him, I think it's going to be heading back out onto circuit in the lead of the race. Just tweaking the tyre temperatures. Obviously big change from cold tyres at the start of the weekend.
I'm just looking at the tracker to see where Olsen is, and he is on almost directly opposite on the other side of the pits now, coming up through turn 14 into what will be the last chicane. We need to get John McLeod moving.
Yeah, so John has 5 seconds of success penalty, but no handicap for his sort of, let's say, ability.
So McLeod just leaving the pits now as Olsen comes round onto the end. So it's effectively the end of the pit straight. And of course, it's a very short run down to the first corner there. So it'd be John McLeod that does maintain the lead for the moment, but he's going to have a visual for Olsen, who's going to see him, and that will just incentivize him to go and catch up, won't it?
So we need to just let our timing screen settle. But I believe that McLeod leads. Where is the 17? Oh, no, hang on. The 17 leads. Bachmann's ahead of the 14. So that was the outlier that we've overlooked. Bachmann's there. So the orange car is your leader. 14 in second position. So how on earth has the 7 managed to do that? The 17? 17 has 5 seconds penalty, 5 second faster pit stop by regulation, and I think he's just managed to jump the 14. You haven't got pit stop. You didn't find pit stop time, did you? That's a shame. Because, of course, I'm telling you what they should be. What they actually were in terms of pit stop time is a different thing, because you're still having to calculate pit in to pit out. That's your regulation window. And you're calculating on how much time you sit stationary. And so often you see teams getting it wrong because it's a difficult calculation to get right. But Pascal Bachmann, then, the Swiss driver, whose wife should have been racing alongside him, but chose yesterday to pull out. So Pascal on his own is our leader. John McLeod in second position. Then Olsen in third and Brian Huang fourth. Those two, the faster cars on circuit. And we'll see 2-minute lap times from them. McLeod and Bachmann 2:02. So this could be an interesting second half of the race.
It could, and with just 18 minutes to go coming up on our clock any second now. So just under half of this race, it got shortened after the restart from a 50-minute to a 40-minute race. Obviously, we had a little bit of running before the red flag, but this is effectively now a 40-minute race. We're into the second half. Pascal Bachmann is that leads in the RJ Motorsport SR3. John McLeod in second place. The gap between them is 4.7 seconds. Erland van Olsen, the 911, who's been super quick, is a further 8 seconds down, 13 from the lead, but 8 seconds from John McLeod, and Brian Hang is another 4 seconds adrift. I think that will tighten up. This could be a grandstand finish, Ben.
That's what we like to see.
Yes, we might have to stand up for that one.
We look to see our victors so far this season. Van Olsen third and second in Mugello at the start of the season. Of course, it's the 4th weekend of the year. They've got a wonderful, fast website, by the way, Radical. So not only are their cars fast, but their website's good too. But I'm not sure we've seen the 911 machine with a victory. No podiums in Spa-Francorchamps, where we didn't see Marcus Littlewood either. And last time out at Paul Ricard, it was Littlewood who took a first and a second. And so, yes, the 911 machine, I think we're going to have a new victor. I think we can conclude that we're going to have a new victor from this result.
Well, as I said,
there is the gap between first and second going through the field.
So 4.7 seconds it is at the moment between Pascal Bachmann and John McLeod. And I said the moment the incident had happened at the start of the race, and once we established everybody was okay and out of the cars and fine, that my first thought was everybody's okay. Second thought, commiserations to those. Third thought was, how does this shake up the championship? Because we've suddenly had front 2 rows effectively taken out. So some of the pro drivers taken out, which is exactly what one of our drivers is interviewed by Carla highlighted. So as you say, we're going to get a new victor for this. And Pascal Bachmann at the moment doing a great job of staying out at the front and maintaining their gap and literally gapping John McLeod. A 2:02.1 for Pascal Bachmann. His fastest lap of the race, just set on the previous lap.
Yeah, taking 7/10 of a second out of John McLeod. But the two of them are about 2 seconds slower than the next two. And so, as you say, those gaps are coming down. Brian Huang not faster than Olsen, but on the same pace. There's a confirmation of the last lap pace from John McLeod. But interesting to see that Bachmann can get that kind of ultimate pace out of the car in the middle of the race. Usually not a time where you find your ultimate speed.
Not entirely so. First, third, maybe, but not at this point. So doing an absolutely great job from leading at the front there. Interesting, you were saying, but Olsen and Hang are approximately 2 seconds a lap quicker, but they're 6 or 7 and 4 seconds a gap between them, so 10 in overall. So they've got to really wind that down now. So 2-minute laps. That's going to take them 5 laps to get close. We are 14 minutes to go. So I think the final 5 laps of this race are going to be very, very interesting, because Bachmann, McLeod, Olsen and Hang, if things continue as they are, should all be technically line astern.
Worth also pointing out that they are both Fangio drivers. See the F beside their names on the timing screen? That means that they are over 50 years old. So you've got...
I thought it meant they were French. No. So F for 50, is it? No, it's Fangio.
Bachmann will complain profusely with that, with being a Swiss driver. Although...
Yeah, I've just called a diplomatic incident there, haven't I? Exactly. Inadvertently. I do apologise.
I'm going to say that he's probably Swiss-German with a name like Bachmann rather than Swiss-French or Swiss-Italian or Swiss, any other language you fancy. But the two in third and fourth are not Fangio drivers, therefore they're younger and potentially, well, they are faster. We can see that. Fastest lap of the race last time from Olsen. Gap down to 5.3 to McLeod now. Brian Huang did basically a 2:02 actually. So on that last lap, Bachmann was faster than Huang. So I don't know whether he's got a radio communication from anybody going, get him, go on. But it feels as though he really has realised that he's in the lead and thought, right then, I want to win this one for RJ Motorsport. There is Pascal Bachmann. And let's just hope that he's not pushing too hard, because he's got a 5.5 second gap. That's healthy with 12 minutes remaining. I don't see... could be caught by Olsen, couldn't he, actually? 5.3 seconds, 10.7 seconds the gap between Bachmann and Olsen, so the lead to third. If he's taking 2 seconds a lap out of him, it's going to be very, very tight at the end. So Bachmann can't settle perhaps as much as I'm suggesting.
You said Bachmann, Olsen, they made me think of a 70s rock band there.
It does sound like it, doesn't it?
It's very close, isn't it?
Yeah. And they don't have long curly hair. I thought they might do.
Just to go with it, just to get into the spirit of it, yes.
Bachmann actually perhaps hasn't appeared in the championship before. Certainly not seeing him on our championship standings. And further back, we have car 55, which is Jesse Fransen. 22 seconds back off Juan. And has Fransen just been passed by somebody? It's the 38 ahead of him. So, no, that's a whole lap back. So, my Lord, Sebastian Schue really is struggling. And we heard that they've got a lack of power. Well, there is a good example of it as as Schue blasts past. Just a reminder that Van Dam in the 33, it says Alan Berg on the left-hand side, but it's not. It is Carlo Van Dam. It was Berg that started. They had that drive.
It says that on the right-hand side of the car, if you notice on the cockpit.
Well, yes.
Yes.
They had a drive-to penalty, so that's why they're down in 7th position, having been at the sharp end of the field in the early part of the race. Here comes Ross Broad looking for 5th position. He passes Sebastian Schue, but that's not for position. You have to look up the road for Jesse Fransen in the 55.
This could get very, very tight at the end, you know, Ben. I'm just predicting here. Of course, I've said it won't happen, but it could. My caveat, it could. But I think we could end up with a really tight field at the end. 4.9 seconds is the gap from our race leader to Packman to John McLeod, and another 4.2 seconds to Olsen. Brian Hang is 6 seconds adrift from that, and not doing much about that at the moment. Ross Board, it is, I think, is now 1.8 seconds behind Jesse Fransson, and keen to reduce that gap even further, which I think he may well do, if I'm honest. I think Ross Board is on the move at the moment, but he is only in 6, and there's further gap. So Jesse Fransson is 26 seconds down from Brian Hang. It's the top 4 that are going to get really tight, I feel. That's where it's going to close up, and Constantino towards the end of this. Just under 10 minutes to go.
And whilst we wait for that Constantino effect to happen, let's go down to Carla Velti, who has another of our drivers eliminated on the first lap.
No, and I'm so sorry to see you without a race suit during the race. First of all, the most important question, are you okay after that crash?
Yeah, I'm fine. You know, it wasn't a super high-speed crash because turn 1, but still, there's a lot of damage on the car, so.
Can you tell me, how was that for you from your point of view? Because in my opinion, when I look at it from the outside, you were a proper passenger of the whole madness that was going on.
Yeah, well, from my onboard, I'm around the outside of turn 1, setting up into turn 2. You know, I'm all good. I'm leaving a gap on the inside for the next car so we don't crash. And then the next thing I know, there's 2 cars howling down my inside, and yeah, can't do much about it at that point.
Do you know how big the damage actually is on your car? Is your car back? Have you been able to speak to someone or not yet?
I haven't seen it back in person properly, but a marshal's come up and said it doesn't look good. So that's not great. But team boss has told me it'll be out for tomorrow, and I couldn't really ask for a better team to do it this week. So hopefully I'll be all right for tomorrow.
Right, it always comes down to the team. Massive team effort, the motorsport, no matter which category. I hope to see you on the grid tomorrow, and I hope that we will have a little bit of a smoother race start. Thank you very much, Lohan.
Thank you, thank you.
RJ Motorsport running 5 cars, so almost half the field. Unfortunately, 2 of those cars eliminated, so they've got Lohan Stevens' car to fix, as well as Jahid Fazil Karim's. But they are also potentially got the opportunity to celebrate, because RJ Motorsport lead this race with Pastel Batman. John McLeod in 2nd position and Erlend Van Olsen in 3rd. Fastest of the 3 is Erlend. I think the Norwegian driver could jump up into 2nd position after this race, considering that the 38 is not going to score very many points. If there is still the opportunity to win the championship for Olsen, then this is a good opportunity to try and get as many points as possible. He's now just 6.6 seconds back off the lead of the race, 2.2 off the back of this man, John McLeod. But 7 minutes and 15 seconds remain, so the time continues to tick down. He still has the pace. He's still faster than everyone around him by over a second. We go on board with Sebastian Schue, and look, it's barely getting out of 9,000 revs. So we're used to seeing that clock in the middle of the screen get up to 10,000 and then bang into another gear, bang into another gear. Well, it can't get above 9, really. A little bit better this time in 3rd gear. But when we were in 4th gear earlier on, it was really struggling. I love this, Snowy. I know that you're an old school man, so the data probably doesn't make you tick as much, but I like the data.
I do quite a bit of modern GT4 testing and stuff, so I'm used to. Yes, new, current, contemporary, is the word you want?
Yes.
GT4 testing. So yes, I do a bit still. Keep your hand in it. If nothing else, it's good to see how these systems work. You're absolutely right. I mean, to go back to when I was racing back in the dark mists of time, and we thought we were amazing because we had 44 channels of data on a front-running GT1 car at the time. And it was 44 channels. It was amazing.
Sounds like far too much.
Yeah, now there's 44 buttons on the steering wheel.
Yeah, right. And all that data coming back to the teams, they can compare each other as well here, which helps the drivers.
And that's the difference. That's an elevation of it. Exactly that used to be downloaded afterwards, and then it would be analysed and whatever, which is a person's job, and then to go through it and whatever. All very time consuming. Now it's live stuff, and then some of the higher echelons of the sport in WEC and IMSA and hypercars and F1 and stuff, they can change things on the car while it's out on the track. Quite extraordinary.
I was interested to see some systems at Le Mans whereby the AI was now analysing the telemetry and giving recommendations real time to drivers whilst they're out on circuit. So brake later into turn 5, turn in earlier at turn 7, comparing as you would do as a performance engineer, but a performance engineer has to analyse all that data before making the suggestions, whether the AI system is able to do it so much faster. And remarkable development for bronze drivers particularly, and gentleman drivers, which of course the majority of this grid is, to help them develop and learn. You have it in sim racing, but now you have it in the real world as well.
Now, I suggested that towards the end of this race, we've just ticked into the last 5 minutes, Ben, that Pascal Bachmann might come under a little bit of pressure from the other two cars immediately behind him. What's happened? 18 laps in, just under 4.5 minutes to go. Pascal Bachmann in number 17 still leads, but only now by 3.7 seconds over John McLeod, and a further 1.2 seconds behind him is that man, E.J. Olsen.
I want to see how many fingers and toes are crossed from Valerie Bachmann, who was on the entry list to race and did some testing, but chose not to race. And at the moment being closed down by both first and second positions. He's holding on right now for what would be a debut victory on his debut race in the European Championship. With a remarkable result that will not come around every day for either one of these drivers. The opportunity to lose the two championship contenders and fight for victory is going to be a rare one. We heard it from...
It's going to be tight because there's going to be two more full laps, to get my words into correct order.
2 laps left.
Yeah.
So over the line for the penultimate time. Bachmann does a 2:01.8, a 2:01.2 for John McLeod, and a 2:00.8 from Olsen.
I think second is going to change, Ben. That's an almost guaranteed. Whether it changes for first, I'm not sure.
Well, keep the tension, Snowy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our sofas.
Because one of the advantages of that is that for Pascal Bachmann, the advantage I'm trying to highlight here is that Olsen is chasing down McLeod. We're going to end up that hunting thing again, where McLeod's going to be not concentrating on it as much as possible, trying to stay ahead. Olsen's going to take advantage of that. I think Olsen is the quicker car. That gap now between those two is going down to just under a second. 0.861. I suspect that by the end of, towards the end of this lap or the beginning of the next, that Olsen is going to be taking second place off John McLeod. It's whether he can then carry on and get behind Pascal Bachmann. But this for Pascal Bachmann is absolutely what he needs, a battle for second place behind him. They're fighting, they're busy doing that amongst themselves. He can get on with what he needs to do at the front.
Not close enough to get down the inside at the Dunlop hairpin. That's one opportunity to overtake. There isn't really another opportunity now until the next lap, because the chicane at the end of the lap in Formula 1 spec is a good out-braking zone, but you can't do that in the fast, well, I think it's 4th gear corner, sweeping left and right. So yeah, maybe dive down the inside or distract the car in front offline, but really the next opportunity to overtake is that first corner. Will Olsen be close enough when he gets there? He's pushing McLeod along, and it does feel as though McLeod is responding.
And we're perfectly placed as well, because the clock has just ticked under 2 minutes to go, with Pascal Bachmann with some 15 seconds on the lap to get to the end of that lap. So he is going to stop when he crosses the line the next time. He is going to be going for his final lap. That battle will be predicted now for 0.8 of a second between Olsen and McLeod. Olsen, having a look down the inside, the final chicane there, nearly went into the pit entry. So determined he was to get that car turned in. Pascal Bachmann starts his final lap, 20 laps completed, 1.5 minutes to go. Olsen looks down the inside to McLeod, doesn't quite get it done there. The battle is going to be here for second place, Ben.
Was Olsen close enough? Not quite. McLeod, I thought, might outbraked himself into turn 1, but he was able to gather it up. But clearly McLeod not very strong through the final couple of turns, and that is surely then tempting for Olsen to try that move again, but with a bit more confidence into the final turn. It's a tricky overtake if you can try and get alongside. You really need to be fully alongside to make it work. He's on the flashers, which will be barely doing anything to distract McLeod in second position. All of this will allow allow the Swiss driver Pascal Bachmann a little bit of breathing space not to be challenged at the head of the field. It looks as though he'll have that one wrapped up, but what about second position? We're nearly half a lap in now. The big hairpin at the bottom of the hill is not an opportunity to overtake because, again, also not close enough to McLeod. So McLeod clearly losing all of his time in the lap in the final turn.
Correct, it's the technical part of the circuit there. He's got the straight line speed the same as Olsen. Olsen can't power past him, but it's the technical bits. Now you can see him through the Schumacher SA. Olsen is all over the back of McLeod like a cheap suit. He's going to look down the inside, look down the outside. He's trying to fill the mirrors of McLeod. He's just trying to put him off there, but this is absolutely playing into Pascal Bachmann's hand, who's just 2.5 seconds up the road. He's got to keep it clean, keep it straight, keep it on the road, not throw it away, but it could be an absolutely unexpected and brilliant and well-received victory for Pascal Bachmann in the number 17 car. Olsen and McLeod still dueling it out there. I think Olsen's going to go for a last lunge on the last few corners, Ben. Meanwhile, Pascal Bachmann comes into the final turn.
Wait. Oh, McLeod's covered the inside line into the final turn. Maybe an opportunity for Olsen to drag him to the line. It's going to be Bachmann who takes the checker flag to take the victory. Who will it be for second position? McLeod still continues to defend over the line, but he does hold on by 0.2 of a second over E.J. Olsen in third spot. We knew it was going to concertina up. It did, but not to change anything. And it is Switzerland that takes the first victory of the day. Pascal Bachmann in the number 17 after victory last night. They take another victory here at the Nürburgring this morning.
And Carla Velti, our pit lane reporter, is from Switzerland. She's going to love that as well, to interview a native of her country. What a great win there for Pascal Bachmann. And I also got to say, John McLeod, great job on that last lap, holding off Olsen. He got a clearly quicker car through the technical bits, but very well driven, beautifully positioned, very thinking drive there from all of them. What a fantastic podium, Ben.
I was a bit scared that McLeod was over-defending when we saw in the middle of the lap, him right in the middle of the road.
And costing himself too much time doing it, slowing himself up.
He did the same thing in the final turn, put himself on the inside running through the final turn, and that did allow Olsen to get more momentum out of that turn, but still not quite enough grunt to take the position at the line. That is race one of our Radical Cup Europe done and dusted. The second race will be tomorrow, and we hope that we'll have 14 cars rather than 9. But you know, it only takes a couple of cars to make a motor race, and yes, we didn't have many cars finish the race, just 8 finished, but the racing was wonderful.
Wasn't it just? I mean, not necessarily as the result of something we wanted, the incident at the start of the race with the leading protagonist taken out of it, but that's the way it goes. But we predicted part way through, didn't you, Ben, that there'd be a new race winner? But to see Pascal Bachmann at Ricard, they had a really difficult run with engine changes and swaps and all sorts. Valerie unable to take part in this race.
So Pascal Bachmann takes the victory and a Fangio winner ahead of John McLeod, and Erlen Van Olsen was holding on and catching up to those two, but was not able to make a pass. He'll finish in third and on the podium. Boan Huang in the second part of the race faded in fourth position. Jesse Franson fifth. Ross Broad wasn't able to catch up to Jesse to take that position for fifth. Alan Berg and Carlo Van Dam seventh after a penalty. Damage to Sebastian Schue and Martin Stronson in eighth position. And then retirement from Peter Gustafsson in their SR10 in ninth. And those cars have got eliminated on lap number 1, including our first 2 rows. Marcus Littlewood, Mitchell van Dijk, Lowen Stevens, Paul Denning, and the assaulter Yahid Fazil Karim. Here are the highlights then of race 1 from the Nürburgring of Radical Cup Europe, and drama at the start. Just gone 9 o'clock in the morning. Jazid Fain looking down the inside and wiping out rows 1 and 2 of the grid. 5 cars in the kitty litter at turn number 1. That meant a red club. That meant a red flag, and then a safety car restarts. When we went back to racing, we then had a great battle with John McLeod and Olsen going around the outside and scampering away in the distance. He knew he needs to make that big gap to hold on to the victory, but he didn't. He ended up in third behind Pascal Bachmann. There is Pascal Bachmann climbing out of his car. I wondered whether his wife would be around to congratulate him, but she's not there, which is a bit of a shame. It was an opportunity to take a victory that he will never, or likely not happen again. Such was the drama of knocking the 4 fastest cars off the field before we went racing. And chatting to his team, RJ Motorsport. Doesn't look like he's done that much work, does he?
No, cool as a cucumber, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Just stepped out, it's early morning, it's nice and cool, as you said a little bit earlier. It's not too much higher temperatures there, but what a turn. If I'd have talked to Pascal at Ricard just a month ago and said, engine failure, engine change in qualifying, that engine then overheated so they withdrew the car from the race. They went home early, and he did say he was getting on his plane to go and sit on his boat, which I thought was rather cool. Yeah, why not? If I'd have said to him in the Ricard pit lane, the next round, you will be the overall winner, he'd have probably just laughed at me and just said, I love your optimism, or something similar. But there he is. He's done it. There it says on the screen, the legend says it. Pascal Bachmann, winner, first. Should have got a snapshot for him. I'm sure he'll watch the replay.
It's nice to do the first race of the day as well, because now for the rest of the day they can go sightseeing or sit by the pool, depending on where they are. If they're in centre parks.
Well, many of the teams can't. The front 2 row teams can't. They've got a lot of work to do.
Not the teams, but the drivers.
Yeah, the drivers.
Yeah. Going off to get weighed, and then off to the podium. I'm not sure we're going to get a chance to hear from them. Such is the timetable this morning, with the Prototype Cup Europe Race 1 coming up before we go to Creventic Racing. We are needing to rush a little bit, and therefore we are going up to get our podium ceremony underway rather than finding out how happy Pascal Bachmann is. We will see it on his face once Carla Velti announces him up onto that podium. Entertaining action from our Radical Cup Europe race. Race 2 coming up tomorrow, and then the final weekend of the championship, which is called the World Finals. So we'll have American teams as well joining the party there. Other one-off entries able to take the World Final win on the Saturday. But the final European races will be on the Friday, and so you get a little sort of bonus extra racing to do. If you are watching and thinking you might want to come along, the entry is still open for Barcelona. It's the what did we work out last night? Third weekend of September. The traditional Barcelona 24-hour date, and there are our drivers. Let's go down to Carla, who can chat to our winner on the podium.
Pascal, congratulations. You're making my Swiss heart proud. How was it out there?
Well, it was scary at the start, to be honest. I'm not really good at start usually. Everybody pretty much took themselves out, and I had a free and clear road ahead of me, so it was pretty, from there on, good fun. You know, the way I look at it is I'm here for fun. I do everything I can. I do the best I can, and I take whatever comes out of it. So today something good came out of it.
Fantastic. Sometimes in motorsport you need to be lucky. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. A happy man. And very fast we will get our podium ceremonies underway. Now, of course, it's not just one podium ceremony. We also have the Fangio Cup to award the podium 4. So a couple of podiums to do. And let's get that podium underway then.
Let's get that podium started to make up a little bit of time. We will start with the overall category and winners of the SR3. Please, on P3, Erland J. Olsen. On P2, John McLeod. And on P1, Pascal Bachmann. And please, the national anthem of the winning team, the Swiss anthem. Copy. It is Chris Pruden, Head of Motorsport and Business Development at Radical Cup, who is presenting the trophies. Please, the trophy for P3, Erland J. Olsen. We continue right away with the P2 trophy for John McElode. And the biggest trophy of them all for Pascal Bachmann. Lift your trophies for some nice photos. You drivers, lift your trophies for a good photo. Look ahead. There you go. Wonderful. Well done. And champagne, if you feel like it. Next up on the podium are the Fangio winners, and we have Jess Frentzen, Diego Dambra on P3, John McElode on P2, and Pascal Bachmann on P1. We are missing John McElode. Having a sip of water, that's fine, it's getting warm. And please, the trophies. P3 trophies for Jess Frentzen and Diego Dambra. Lots of smiling faces, lovely. The P2 trophy, once again, for John McElode. And Pascal Bachmann is going home with 2 of the biggest trophies of this weekend for the Radical Cup. Congratulations. Please lift your trophies for some photos. Look ahead with the trophies, please. Lift your trophies. Wonderful. And celebrate with champagne if you feel like it. And that's it from the Radical Cup Race 1. But don't be sad, racing continues. We will head straight into the Prototype Cup with more race action.